This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Cops suspect crime of passion in Dewar's death. The police suspect information technology specialist William Dewar's death may have been a crime of passion based on evidence collected. Dewar was reportedly killed on Monday at his Oakland apartment home in St. Andrew, and his body discovered with stab wounds to the neck, left arm, and abdomen. A 28-year-old man has been taken into custody as the police continue their probe. The suspect reportedly fled the scene and turned himself into the Constant Spring police station. The police said that the suspect, a customer services representative, was invited to the home of the deceased. Dewar was an assistant general manager at Management Control Systems Limited, a division of the Jamaica National Group. He also served as a director of Oakland Apartments and was the writer of a column. The island has been experiencing a spate of domestic violence cases and crimes of passion in recent weeks, some of which have triggered national outrage. It is also not the first such incident at the Oakland Apartments, as in one of the more high-profile cases over a decade ago, Stephen Coswell killed his girlfriend of 8 years, Nadia Mitchell, inside the gated complex in July 2008. The father of two was sentenced to life in prison and ordered to serve 20 years before he is eligible for parole, a sentence that was affirmed by the Court of Appeal. At the time of her death, Mitchell was in another relationship after ending her romance with Coswell, according to evidence presented during trial. Prosecutors had painted the businessman as a scorned, obsessive, and controlling lover, describing his relationship with Mitchell as a case of fatal attraction. As of June 8, murders in the St. Andrew North Police Division were down by 14% compared to the corresponding period last year. A total of 22 murders have been recorded in the division since January as opposed to 36 last year. A total of 588 Jamaicans had been murdered between January 1 and Tuesday, June 8. Vector control workers stoned in Manchester. Health officials have raised concern about their safety after residents of a community in Alligator Pond, referred to as Compound, reportedly stoned vector control workers during fogging of the area. Chief Public Health Inspector Charmaine Palmer Cross told yesterday's sitting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation that the vector control team has more than once been stoned in the community. Once we go out to fog, there tends to be areas where persons are throwing missiles at the vehicles. It is not the first time, and I am imploring that persons understand the reason for us doing so. It is for us to protect the public, she said. If this practice continues, then we perhaps will have to pull out of that area because it is putting our vehicle and our workers at risk, she added. People's National Party Councillor for the Alligator Pond Division, Dalton Brown, in responding to the health department's concern, said he is willing to accompany the vector control team in fogging the area. He said residents have weird thinking in relation to fogging. What I have found is that there is some weird thinking as it relates to the fogging, and persons who are devious at times would stone the projectiles, and then what has happened is that children catch on to the practice, and that is the issue that is causing the problem, he said. Mother of alleged St. James rape victim arrested. The mother of a 15-year-old rape victim has been arrested by the St. James police and is now facing charges of attempting to pervert the course of justice. The case involves 39-year-old Jason Rose, a pastor at an apostolic church in the parish, who was this week formally charged with rape. Allegations are that the victim and her mother visited the office of the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Center for the investigation of sexual offenses and child abuse yesterday, intending to give a further statement to the police to say that her initial accusation of rape was untrue. However, the police said the child was interviewed in the presence of a Child Protection and Family Services Agency representative when she explained that she was being forced to give this second statement by the accused pastor, her own mother, and the pastor's wife in order for the case against him to be dropped. She was then taken to the St. James Family Court and later taken into state care for her protection. Meanwhile, her mother has been taken into police custody, where she awaits a June 16, 2021 appearance at the parish court. The St. James Police have also identified Kimoy Rose as a person of interest in the matter and are asking her to visit the nearest police station by midday, June 11, 2021. Popular Selector shot dead in Westmoreland. The family of Andre DJ Joshi Barker and the members of the entertainment fraternity in the western end of the country are now mourning the death of the popular selector who was shot dead earlier this morning. The Savannah Lamar police have confirmed the death of the 33-year-old. According to sources, Barker was killed during a dispute with a licensed firearm holder who has since turned himself over to the police. The police have yet to give confirmation. During a visit to the scene in the Landile Phase 1 housing scheme this morning, trails of blood along the roadway painted a picture of the early morning altercation that turned deadly. A handful of residents stood around in disbelief, trying to come to grips with the death of the well-known selector. "Me surprised. Me still don't believe he's dead," said his stepdaughter, Cameron Whitelock. The news was told that an area resident tried to get the injured Barker home, but he died as they walked along the way. "When them turn him over, a pure blood me sip on him chest and bullet holes," added one eyewitness who did not wish to be identified by name. His wife, Kim Loy Lotham Barker, struggled for composure as she spoke to the man with whom she had shared a life until a few hours ago. "If he was a troublemaker, then I'd understand, but he's humble, quiet and resilient, and he's always smiling," she said mournfully. "This morning my son asked, 'Where is Daddy?' and I had to tell him he's sleeping by Grandma." She said Barker came home last night complaining that his musical equipment had been dismantled and he was leaving to go get it. "Shortly after, me hear gunshots, and the cleaner man for my yard say he heard him crying for help, and that they shot him up," added the widow. Unconfirmed reports from residents are that hours earlier during an event in Little London, Westmoreland, Barker and a partygoer argued after the DJ refused to play a song requested. He refused, sources said, and he had earlier been slapped in the face by the person making the request. Promoters who worked with Barker were among those left rattled by the incident. "A good youth, good selector, but watch him grow until him have good crowd behind him," said Ryan Morrison. "Life no worth nothing in Jamaica, selfish time we live in." Another promoter, Wendell Dawson, said Westmoreland has lost one of its best DJs. "We just have to pray for his wife Kim Loy and son and the rest of his family," added Dawson. Barker's son is said to be 3 years old. "We're asking young men, please resolve your issues in other ways rather than the gun or other weapons. Let us go back to the days when we can talk out things," appealed Dawson. 2 men charged in St. James drug bust. Detectives assigned to the Area 1 Narcotics Division have charged 34-year-old Timothy James and 23-year-old Brandon Daly, both of Book Village, St. James, under the Dangerous Drugs Act following the seizure of ganja plants on Atlantis Crescent in Book Village, St. James on Wednesday, June 9. The men are charged with illegal possession of ganja, cultivating ganja, and dealing in ganja. Reports are that between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., an anti-narcotics operation was conducted at a 2-bedroom house occupied by the men. A quantity of ganja was seized and a total of 241 ganja plants were seen growing in the backyard and inside a bedroom in pots. The drugs have an estimated street value of $964,000 Jamaican dollars. The men are scheduled to appear before the St. James Parish Court on Wednesday, June 30. Police seized 2 firearms and ammunition in Trelawny. An AK-47 rifle was among 2 weapons seized along with several rounds of ammunition in operations at Racecourse District in Trelawny today. Lawmen said that between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m., officers acting on information searched an abandoned building and the AK-47 rifle, 17 rounds of ammunition, and a ballistic vest were found. Minutes later, the police said another premises was searched and a .45 pistol was found. Additionally, 36 lead sheets with identity information of people living overseas were found. The police said no arrest was made in relation to the seizures. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.